Hi, my name is Jenee. My daughter's name is Jordyn. She was born 24 weeks, 1 pound, 7 ounces, and she's a miracle. When I found out I was pregnant, I was so excited. I was super surprised and it was surreal. I couldn't actually believe it was happening to me. It's the one thing in my life I've always wanted to be was a mom. Needless to say, I was over the moon and a little bit scared, if I'm being honest. My pregnancy experience was like any typical pregnancy experience at first, but unfortunately, my pregnancy experience was cut short. It was going great, and then it wasn't going great. I made a couple doctor's appointments. In fact, everything was cleared. There wasn't really any true signs that something major was going on, so I just continued life. Actually, it was the morning of my birthday, April 21st. We'll never forget it. That morning at 2 a.m., I was actually having a pretty intense dream about being in labor, which is the first dream I'd ever had about that. And I woke up and my water had broken. At that time, I was only 22 weeks. A baby is not considered viable until they're 23. So I was beyond petrified, beyond. And we quickly got things together and we rushed in the car and ran to the hospital. I knew they were going to tell me that my baby was not viable. They sent me home. The hospital and myself, we did everything we could to keep her safe. I made sure to be very careful with everything that I did, even bringing a spoon up to my mouth, trying to make sure that she was protected. Every single minute, every single second counted. The longer that we could keep her inside of me, the safer she was. And 16 days had gone by, one true labor that we were able to stop. And finally, by God's will and my body, I went into labor again, and that's when she was born.
Oh, are they? Is that what she's doing?
Thank you guys so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Moms can do that.
She was born 1 pound, 7 ounces. She fit in my hand. She's about a little bit smaller than a stick of butter, about the same weight, but she was very tiny. My hospital experience was also the top of my list, pretty surreal. It was an experience I wasn't prepared for. I'm sure most moms in this situation can say the same. You're there fighting for your child who doesn't have their own voice. When they're born that prematurely, they're born with what's called a PDA, and that is a hole in the heart. A full-term baby, when they're born within the first day and a half to 2 days, when they're breathing oxygen, normal air, it closes on its own. When a baby is born prematurely like Jordyn, she needed medication to help close that hole. And in return, that medication causes a thinning of the lining of the intestine. So trying to fix the hole in her heart, which in turn made her intestines weak. They tried to feed her to get her to grow, and that food unfortunately bursted through her intestinal wall. And unfortunately, she was going septic. Hurley was not equipped to take care of that matter. Jordyn had to be driven by ambulance to the hospital in Ann Arbor. So the Michigan Ann Arbor Hospital is who performed the abdominal surgery for her. Jordyn stayed there specifically for a few months because that is also where her heart needed to be repaired. They tried to close her PDA multiple times with medication, and unfortunately she was so premature it needed to be closed by a surgery. It was successful, so they put in what's called a piccolo, and it kind of looks like a very, very tiny spring, and they enter it through a major vein in her leg all the way up to her heart. and they were able to twist it inside of her hole, the PDA, because it's a foreign object. Scar tissue formed around it, and it was able to close that hole for her. She was getting fully oxygenated, which meant she could heal all other areas, which meant she could grow profusely. After her PDA was fixed, things were great, things were good, and she was on her road to recovery. It was an uphill battle because of her little lungs. The lungs are the last to develop in the womb. And that was the challenge. That was the challenge, to keep her settings down. The day before she was to get extubated, unfortunately, her left lung collapsed. I wrangled in as many people as I could to get on their knees to pray for her, because we thought this was it. By the grace of God, it was not. And she fought that battle too. Kept her intubated. We performed an experimental drug. She was put on a steroid to help grow her lungs, and it did. It was successful. She had 2 rounds, which typically you only have 1. We were able to get her extubated and exported back to Hurley, as we call her home hospital. So Jordyn came home 4.5 months later, 167 days, I believe, to be exact. She came home on oxygen for about 2 more months. All in all, it was a miracle. It was a miracle that she was home. It was a miracle that she was born at 24 weeks and smaller than a stick of butter. And then she came home this warrior, and then continued to thrive and grow and succeed in all things that she has done and conquered. So with that being said, she will be 3 in May.
She's a baby now. Aww.
Are you saying hi? Wow. Huh. So this is Jordyn Grace Beers.
I just want So we're going to toss that one aside. We're going to get a clean one and rinse. That's nice all this like that. It's okay if it's high, it's fine.
There we go. Get in there.
A critical care message from somebody encouraging you. Wow. That would be everything. That would be something that, as a mom in that experience, would hold dear to their heart, would read over and over and over and over again. It is something that they would draw strength from. It was something that they would feel as if they weren't alone, that they were being thought about. It is a very selfless act to do something like that. And for a mom or parent in this experience to get something that sheds a little bit of light on something that they're going through that is so dark, it would mean everything. It would mean everything to them. And it's something that they would hold on to forever. You draw strength from that because you feel less alone. And if I was to get cards from anyone where they were telling me that it was going to be okay, or that I'm thinking about you, or that you are loved, I know that in that moment it would have put fuel in my tank. It would have helped me in that moment or that day or even just a few minutes to feel strengthened. So if that was something that if I was to go back and I was to get, I would have it framed in my house or in her bedroom. I know that I would hold on to it forever. So for me, man, that would be an experience all in itself if I could have had something like that. I wish I had something like that. And I hope that others have that in those trying times.